So yeah.
Welcome to the Sleep Experience podcast, where we take a deep dive into the latest sleep hacks, gadgets, and strategies to skyrocket your productivity to new heights. Being a high performer is all about resting at 100%, so you can execute at 100%.
Side effects of medication, they weren't doing anything for me, so I felt like my back was up against the wall.
All right. Okay. Hey, this is Riley, host of the Sleep for Side Hustlers podcast. At Sleep for Side Hustlers, let me redo that. That one's in my mind. Hey, this is Riley, host of the Sleep Experience podcast. At the Sleep Experience podcast, we interview health experts and teach our community how upgrading their sleep is the one thing that they need to unlock their biological code and maximize their performance in an effortless way by doing more with less. Do you want to become a productivity machine, have genius ideas automatically pop into your mind, stop feeling so stressed, build better relationships, and generate more income? Optimizing your deep sleep can do just that. Visit www.thesleepconsultant.com to learn more. My guest today is Agostino Carrideo. Agostino is an executive mentor, Amazon bestselling author, and the founder of BTM Group, an organization that helps executives, professionals, employees optimize their workday, sleep, recovery, movement, nutrition, and stress management for over 23 years and counting. As a biohacker, speaker, and high-performance expert, Agostino has great insights into optimizing the mind and body for maximum functioning. Agostino, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be on the show, Riley. A pleasure, and look forward to sharing my insights and lessons.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, 23 years, it's crazy how fast time goes by, but I was probably pretty young at that age. But the fact that you've been doing that long, I'm sure you've just seen so many different transformations in people and just seen, the progression of tech and science and how it all comes together and really to what it is today. You've just sort of refined everything. So I know what you call the BTM method and everything else you've worked on. But every single guest that comes on the show, I'm very curious, what was your origin story? What kind of got your entrepreneurial journey started into all of this, better health for other people and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'll spend a couple of minutes on this. It's my background is actually technology. I have a master's in information management systems, and so I still work and consult in the industry, and it's more I took that role into strategic sourcing and procurement and vendor management, vendor relations. So I kind of, as I went through my professional journey working for the top tier management consultancies, AT Kearney's, I've worked with KPMG, I've worked with Deloitte, I've worked with Capgemini, all these big brands and large Australian companies. I started running two careers in parallel. So yes, I was doing multi-million dollar deals, but I found myself sitting in the corner of a cafe shop, dealing with helping my peers and colleagues and guiding, coaching, and mentoring around life, around career planning, around well-being and health, and sharing some own experience. So here I am in the trenches, delivering and working in a fast-paced career. I've been in very senior director roles. How do we best live? And in my life, I've found people around me having strokes very young, having health issues, burnout, stress. So I became quite interested in the mind and the body very, very early on. And more than mind, anything else, and how I started understanding around epigenetics and DNA and how things come down generationally and how you can start to work on the mind. And so I went on and did what we all do, become engrossed in Tony Robbins and life coaching and all the other plays, the Greg Bradens and the Joe Dispenzas, and wow, it was fantastic. And so very early on, I started to educate myself, when I spent hundreds and thousands of hours just soaking all this up to better myself, to be a better father. I'm married, I've got two daughters, 18 and 20. And just to be a better overall human, because I found a lot of joy in helping people understand how they can be high performing. And so around 2015, 2017, I started to really move into this area, and I wrote a book called Vendor Management. So this is at a pivotal point around where I started to move my career formally into high performance management.
Got it.
And the book was actually two books in one. It was all around the how to vendor and work with vendor management and work with, how does IBM and Salesforce work best together, for argument's sake. That went to number one in 5 categories very quickly, because the book actually lent on emotional intelligence, relationship management, and the things that drive the underpinning well-being of relationships and social interaction.
Yeah.
And that was my pivotal point that, okay, I need to find ways to help myself and others and avoid burnout, Riley. I then came across a technology, and this is the biohacking pivot, called whole body vibration. And spent a lot of months working on learning about this because I came across a Roman professor called Carmelo Bosco, who's no longer with us, but in 1999 wrote an amazing, did some research findings around how whole body vibration can neurologically stimulate your body, drive growth hormone up 300+% and drop your cortisol level 32%.
Wow.
In a very quick 10-minute session.
Wow.
And I'm going, wow, okay, now the body is now triggering the mind, the well-being of the body. And that was fascinating. So to cut long story short, I brought one of these machines, an Australian designed and engineered machine. And 6 months later, bought into the company in Australia. So I'm part of the directors that own the Australian business, and it's an international business. So it's sold in North America, Canada, and Europe. By two younger Australian founders, and they're really passionate about helping children with disabilities and with cerebral palsy, and we're sort of really rocketing up in that market and making a lot of difference.
Fascinating.
So okay, that's a pivot, right? So I've gone, started off in technology, moved into strategic sourcing, got into well-being, got into coaching, and I have been evolving all along. What's important to me, Riley, is everything that I preach and learn, I'm actually doing it myself. So I'm constantly evolving, constantly showing people I'm doing it. Yes, I have bad days. Yes, I need to sometimes step back and refocus. We're all human. Yes, a lot of my old habits surface around fears that I haven't completely worked through. And I bring all that congruency into any of my programs that I deliver. Amazing. Or one-to-one executive coaching I deliver, to build that rapport, to say, I'm just like you, right? It's kind of like, a lot of people see the pin-up person, but they don't realize that pin-up person also has a coach, also has their bad days. I'm a massive fan, Riley, of Mel Robbins. I think she's done some fantastic work. And I sort of find myself a lot like her. Like, I'll tell people I'm having a really crappy day, but I draw on the people around me to drive that turnaround. And I use tech. I use all sorts of different tools at my disposal to turn myself around. There's one thing that I now use to my advantage is my optimism. Like I'm very, very born, and I got that from my mother. I think I'm very optimistic. So that's my start. That's the bio. I've educated myself in lots of different areas around tech as well. But I think it really boils down to finding my joy and what brings that. So my motto is, and a program I'm building is called Dial Up the Joy. So I think joy has a really interesting way to intervene during your day. And I slot this stuff into my micro breaks that can lift my vibrational level up to a point that no matter what the challenge is, I can see through that and make those small wins. And in all this process, I'm working on my body and mind. Today, we're fighting all the distractions, all the interruptions. I've got 3 businesses that I'm involved in, all with Slack. So I'm getting pinged by Slack constantly. It's getting tough. Humans are finding it really tough to manage all this right now. And then the hybrid working, the remote working from home. Things are going on. My wife will burst through the door. Can you help me put out a load of washing? I'm trying to prepare for a meeting. And so how do you switch in and switch out? And that's also the things that I work through BDM Group about high performing. My motto is high performance done different. The done different is empowering yourself with the tools and process to get through the day with ease, driving in calm, recognizing, being highly aware. And high performance for me, or what I call micro resilience, is the hour by hour high performance. So so that's a bit about myself and how I move through the day and help others.
That's amazing. It's incredible hearing you, your background, the different pivots and where you really are today. That's super multifaceted. And, going through it yourself, you can just help out clients that much more opposed to just studying the theory and just, directing clients what to do. I think that just speaks to, like you said.
Yeah, that's right, Riley. And that's what brings me joy. I mean, I've signed up to many online courses, apps, notifications, the whole lot. But I think that personal interaction is really, really important. I grew up in a family that were, my father built luxury homes in Melbourne, but started off as an immigrant from Italy, being a bricklayer, but built himself out. I have this desire to show people, empower people to understand what gifts they've got and to roll with many things. Just being an accountant all your life, and having these little jewels in who you are and what you're passionate about and how you can bring contribution to the world. I try to help people dial them up. And I've been very entrepreneurial all my life. But today, now it's very normal. Riley, you can run 3-4 different, what people term side hustles, which I really don't like the term side hustle. I think it's more around bringing your contribution to the world. You can do that today. You can do 5 hours.
Yeah. There's a lot of
you'll sign up to an MBA because the institution has promised you a greater well-being, life, and prosperity doing an MBA. That'll cost you 10 to 15 hours a week. It'll cost you tens of thousands of dollars. But really, is there a guarantee at the end?
Exactly.
There isn't. Right.
And even if you dedicated that same amount of hours into that MBA, I mean, it's great. You could go to the school, but I mean, education is so much online anyway now. And you can buy a course for a couple $1,000s, and there's people making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, it's really just anything works. It's just picking that avenue, sticking with it. And you don't have to have an extremely high IQ. In fact, being too smart, you just almost overthink. You just don't start getting your own way. And you just, it's that whole rabbit hole. But for sure, there's
Riley. Sorry to overtalk you. So I'm sorry, but we do paralyze ourselves in the intellect, right? So
it's pretty massive. You think about the opportunity cost for a lot of people, but it's just in the entrepreneurial journey, for sure, as they say, fail faster. And there'll be times where, like Elon Musk said, you're sort of chewing glass and looking to the abyss as you're moving forward. And it's like that sometimes, but if you can just stay with those feelings, continue to work on your health and optimization. So your focus, your energy, your creativity all goes up. You're definitely going to be headed towards the right direction as that upward spiral keeps going. I've just seen it time and time again with so many people that I've worked with in the past, but I'm curious for you, what have you seen? I mean, obviously you've been doing this for a long time with the clients that you work with. What is sort of your process when people come to you? Because I'm sure a lot of people don't know what they don't know. There's a lot of blind spots. So do you start working on their mind first to get them grounded for stress with mindset? Do you try and make them more optimistic, or is it more sort of working on different systems in their body first? How does that look like for you? Is it a more cookie cutter approach, or is every single person case by case?
Everyone's pretty bespoke, but especially when I'm working with executives and professionals. But there are 2 parallel models I bring in very quickly. First thing is I try to understand how well they maybe run a diary or not. But I use Brendan Burchard's high performance habits as a go-to, as a foundational way to. So your first thing is I introduce them to 3 or 4 different experts, and I start by you first deploy Headway on your phone. You start to get 15-minute chunks and start to go through a series or 10 or 15 books I'll ask them to read. These are really just 15-minute summaries. You start to do that. We outline the high performance habits planner that Brendan Burchard you can buy very easily on Amazon.com. And once we start working through and learning about the 6 high performance habits, inside those there are areas around mindset, around contribution, and around body and exercise. In those mind and body exercises, then we start to map out your day and start to introduce, this is the very beginning, simple things you can bring in and start to build those high performance habits. So resilience is really key at present. I think for 23 and 2024, with us coming out of the COVID phase, the hybrid working is here to stay. The distractions are increasing. The demand is increasing. A lot of negative news in the press. We've got recession hitting us left, right, center. There's a lot of discussions around all sorts of challenges in the world. So the planner you start off with the planner. We start to focus on with the habits of great habits you might already have in place. To help them anchor. And so start to multi-stack habits on top of the good habits is really important. So I look at doing things like that. And then I start to introduce different modalities and science-backed methods to help embed those habits or to learn about that. So it's a kind of, I'm mentoring and educating along the way. And I actually believe there's no one way. There are many things to deal with your sleep. Right. So some people respond great to using technology, maybe an Apple Watch, right? To track the sleep, to see where their REM cycles are, and to help them understand that. And then you go backwards and go, right, well, during the day and that morning, what did you do? You know, when was the last coffee you had? Oh, I have coffee, 4 coffees all the way through the day. Well, that's not going to help. I introduce medicinal mushrooms into people's diets very quickly to help with the liver and kidney. Bring in ashwagandha to help people reduce their cortisol and to help them sleep better of an evening. And these are all, depending on the individual, I can load them up with scientific research and go read and find out for yourself. Or go watch these YouTube videos of the experts that have all the information as well. So I don't become the high performance expert in any certain level of field. I bring the experts that are already there. So out of the thousands of hours that I've gone and consumed, I bespoke to people. And so, for example, in just general being mindset, optimism, high performance, I'll introduce 3 or 4 world-class coaches. Have you heard of Mel Robbins? No, I haven't. Have you heard of Joe Dispenza? No, I haven't. Okay. I'm going to give you bite-sized introductions. Who do you resonate with?
Very smart.
Right? Because no point me being a Tony Robbins fanboy, for argument's sake, and I love the work he's done. He's done great.
Some people don't
people go, but they're just not feeling it. They're not. It's important. That word "feel" is really important to anchor that. And so the content is there. My job is to help guide and switch in, switch out different biohacking techs, whole body vibration. In 2 minutes, you load your body with gravity. There's nothing else that does it. This is a science that came out of the NASA and the Soviet space programs. To load your body with gravity. Gravity then gives you bone growth, muscle growth, neurological stimulation. In 5-10 minutes, you've done an hour's worth of exercise in your work clothes. You haven't had a break, and it's from anyone. We sell that machine to anyone because I am one of the owners. Anything from a 9-year-old so they don't fall over in aged care and break their hip, to a 6-month-old child with cerebral palsy, to everything in between. Start with the body. Now, if you don't have one of those devices, you can do body weight exercises for free in your home in 5-10 minutes. You'll slowly go there, right? Red lights. There's a lot of neurological stimulation I do around brain hacking with brain tap. There's a lot of things you can do to rewire your thinking on fear of or lack of money, lack of prosperity. We all have that, right? So there's so much in the market you can do for free. Love Bob Proctor, bless him, he's gone now, but he was great. Earl Nightingale back, back in the 30s. We are overloaded with information. So what I try to do is, where we're all time poor, is to slot in these bite-sized coaching phone calls and drive that personal interaction to a point over 6 to 8 weeks to build enough bespoke habits that they then learn how to build that bespoke habit. And that's amazing. That's the key. To evolve themselves.
6 to 8 weeks. I mean, that's a great timeline with all of that. And what you're with the vibration therapy, I've just been seeing that time and time again. I've tried the benefits myself at some of the biohacking Bulletproof. Some of their facilities, they have one in Santa Monica and one in Vancouver Island in Canada.
That's right.
But I mean, you can really get them. I'm sure some people use it for treatment or just general well-being, but for how short they take in one treatment session, I couldn't believe how good I felt after. And you think, it's amazing.
That is really by far my flagship product. It is. Once you understand how that product method, what it does to the body and the mind at the same time, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Movement is medicine, as we know, right?
Yeah.
I'm 54 and I am, look, to be honest with you, the reason why I actually got into this, actually I failed to share this, is in my high stress load of being a management consultant, strategic sourcing consultant in corporate Australia.
Yeah.
My blood pressure went up, Riley. So my journey was trying to find ways to drop my stress, because I realized my blood pressure was a result of being under a very intense high stress load. Some cultures were quite toxic that I was trying to turn around. So all in this for 23 years, I've actually been an entrepreneur, driving my professional career and doing all this work with BTM Group in parallel. So the difference is I'm sitting with executives, I'm working with, one of Australia's largest banks as we speak, delivering consultancy services, but at the same time coaching my peers in space as well. So I'm wearing two hats. So that's how I'm not a guy who's been in coachy land, who's sitting in a hammock and then getting up and having a conversation with some stressed out professional. I'm in the trenches with you, delivering that. That's actually what brings me the joy, to be honest with you, that I can sit there.
When you're on the front lines like that, I know it's fascinating, because you're just like them. You're just showing like, these are the tools I have, just like, and you share that with them, and you're kind of just that intent of sharing those things to help them get healthy in the best way possible and optimize the body and the mind. What do you find are your favorite gadgets today? Like if it was gadgets, supplements, what are 5 easy tips that people can utilize starting today?
You'll hear this time and time again. Try to stay off social media the first 15, 20 minutes that you're awake.
Got it.
Drink lots of water, stretch. It's really important.
Yeah.
I do my hypervibe session. I do 10 minutes on my hypervibe, and I just warm up my muscles and get my circulation going.
Yeah.
By moving your circulation, you get rid of toxicity that your body's been trying to remove during your sleep cycle, as you would know.
Yeah.
If I have any soreness anywhere, I'll use my red light. So one of the brands I represent is called Flex Beam by Recharge.
Okay.
That's a great product. I have my morning coffee, which is a double shot espresso with medicinal mushrooms. I use a Australian brand called Superfeast.
Nice.
Highly educational. Can't rave enough about Superfeast as a brand. I use a product called Sensate, and I do a lot with Sensate. It's like a pebble that you sit on your chest, and it's own
it's
the vagal nerve.
Yeah.
Do you know Sensate?
I have one actually. Yeah. It's incredible. Can't say enough good things about it.
That's the go-to for stressed out executives. So actually, I do a lot of recommendations. You can bring this into the office or at home in 10 minutes. You can reduce stress and anxiety very quickly. Sensate is awesome. There's an American product called Apollo Neuro. I also have that product to go to. You know about Apollo. So I can wear Apollo Neuro while I'm doing a podcast, for argument's sake, and be in focus and be in the zone without having to hear music. Whereas with Sensate, it really is a great way to step away for 10 minutes in a micro break, and you can just put on the music that is synchronized to the Sensate pebble that's gently vibrating on your that's it. There's 2, Apollo Neuro and Sensate. Medicinal mushrooms, and you can use Muse for meditation. That can guide you in Muse, or there's the brain tap process as well that uses light and frequency of music to rewire your subconscious mind around any belief system, around diet, around sleep, around fears. So brain tap is also good, and that's where you start to get into. Look that one up. Brain tap. It's an American product. Dr. Patrick Porter, he's a you'll find him sponsoring Dave Asprey's events quite a lot. He's got to do with them as well. So they're probably the 4 or 5 that I'd highly recommend. One more, in fact, which I have great success with, that I implement into people's offices and homes. It's called the Somavedic. Somavedic.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it? So I'm all so if you want to sleep well, I'm about shutting off your Wi-Fi routers at nighttime to reduce the EMF and the 5G and 4G. But Somavedic is a product that uses precious metals and precious stones
Mm.
to kind of direct your attenuation to the frequencies of the precious metal and stones away from the EMF. So it doesn't block EMF into your physiology.
Yeah.
But it gives you benefits far, and these are scientifically proven benefits as well. So think about the environment that you work in, and all these things are set up as well. So as you see in my bio, it's kind of like it is around stress management. What's causing the stress?
Right.
The sleep is not.
Yeah.
You've got a poor environment. Your ergonomics aren't right. You've got a very poor chair. You've got your lighting is not right. So you start to, so during my 6-month programs, we start to deep dive into all these areas around your physiology and your mind. So it's quite intense. Yeah.
Incredible. Well, lots of actionable things. I learned a lot here. I think our listeners did as well. And I really just like these principles of deep, active recovery instead of just sitting down watching Netflix and waiting for the next workday. You can really shorten this recovery, especially for high performers. I mean, time is money. Time is time with friends, to recharge for ourselves, to do other side hustles. So if you can make that time more efficient with all these things that are even just running in the background, you can just, accomplish so much more and whatever else you want in your life. So thank you so much today, Agostino. I really appreciate our list. And like I said, I'm sure our listeners did too. If people want to learn more about you, where can they visit?
I'd say go to btmgroup.com and you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And send me a message, and happy to start a conversation.
Amazing. We will put all that down in the show notes below. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to learn more about how sleep can benefit your personal and business life, visit thesleepconsultant.com. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Sleep Experience podcast. We'll see you next time on next week's episode. Be sure to subscribe and follow us to get future updates on everything sleep, energy, focus, stress, and better performance.